This is the first video in my series about the Illuminati, and I've got most of it is with Royce, the gentleman that I met in a hotel in London, who I've known for quite some time, and he trusts me, and he's quite old. He is now getting on for 70, I would think, and he knows he's not long for this world. He has gastrointestinal problems, and he's decided he wants to get what he knows down on record, and what he knows is quite a lot, but he can't say a lot of it without identifying himself, and obviously he's very concerned about this because he has family members, and having been on the inside, he has quite a good idea of the sort of things that this organisation can do. He's reassured me that I probably have nothing to fear because I'm not actually the one leaking. The organisation, which he calls the Order, apparently has a code. It's not really an ethical code. It's strange to say that he thinks they actually have a religion of sorts, and as part of that they will only take action against the actual person doing it. If you come to some information and you spread it about, apparently you're quite safe, whereas if you're the actual ex-member of the Order or ex-employee or whatever and you're spreading it, this is not the case, and it's gloves off, no holds barred sort of thing, which is why Royce is so cagey when he talks on the record. So I hope you make allowances for that. Now, this first video introduces you a bit to Royce, some of the things that he had to do. Well, he didn't have to do, but he did for the Order, and you have to remember that when he did these things, he wasn't as old as he is now. He was somewhere in his 20s or 30s, and so now I get the feeling he kind of regrets what he did, but who knows. So we're going to talk a little bit about Royce, what he did, and a bit about the organisation of the Order, which is similar to what many people have thought it is, but with a few differences. And a little bit about the history, and that's not going to be involving Royce because, as he said, he knows very little of that. I've got some of that in this document. I don't want to show you the document, and the reason I don't want to show you the document is very often these things are controlled by adding punctuation marks and subtle errors and different wording, so that if I were to show you the document, then the chances are that the people who might be interested in that would know precisely who's leaking it. And this may not be a worry to them, I don't know, because they sent me the document with no return address, no way of getting in touch, although I'm pretty sure from what they say that they've been watching my video channel, and that's why I got the document. How they actually got my address, Lord alone knows. So history wise, which I'll get to first, and then I'll just go straight into the interview with Royce. History wise, apparently the Illuminati, well, the Order I should say, apparently they came from Turkey. That is what their first records say, and they're from a previous civilization, and that civilization was wiped out by an event which essentially was the sun. And what actually happened is that the sun grew brighter, and we're not talking over a period of months or years, we're talking a period of hours. The sun suddenly grew brighter, things grew very much hotter, and a lot of water was evaporated from the oceans, and the wisest amongst them knew that something was happening, so they constructed these underground shelters. Now, does this sound familiar with all this talk of underground bunkers going on at the moment? They constructed these underground shelters, and the people fled into these underground shelters. And well, I should say some of the people fled because there was some selection going on. There were two sorts of shelters. There were shelters that people were expected to survive and shelters where they weren't. Needless to say, the Order were in the ones where people were expected to survive, and the bigwigs who thought that they controlled everything were in the shelters which did not survive. And what actually happened was the world grew hotter, food grew scarce over a period of months. Then suddenly the sun did exactly the reverse, and it dimmed an awful lot. Now, what you've got is you've got water vapour in the sky, you've got cold, so what you get is one heck of a lot of rain, and all this kind of seems to correspond to the biblical flood. So maybe we're talking 10,000 years ago? Don't know. There is nothing in here that would give me any dates, and so anyway, they came out of the shelter, they took control over what remained of humanity. There was a revolution. They decided they had to go back underground again, which they did, and now they're spread all over the world. Every country, according to this, has got some segment of the Order in it, and they're very well hidden. And later on, in the next episode of these videos, I will be talking to Royce about these internal Order members and how it is you might recognise them, because obviously it would be quite a good idea if we found out who they were. So yeah, here we go then. So welcome to the video, or not video as it may be. This is more like a radio interview really, and the gentleman I've got with me will now introduce himself, and we're going to discuss a little bit about the structure. I've got a diagram here which he hasn't seen, and I'm just hoping that maybe his experience will bear out what was in the diagram, which is one of the things that were included with the document that was sent me. So it's over to you.
I'm not going to tell you my real name, but you can call me Royce. And I went to work for a gentleman that I cannot tell you his name, and this was now more than 20 years ago. He was a member of what we would call the Second Circle. They had no name for any of this, which, as I said in your little video earlier, that makes it very difficult to talk about them, very difficult indeed. Now, the way that they're organised, you have a central group, and how many are in this group, I don't know for sure. I've heard words that maybe there's 300. And these people, as I say, they have no name for themselves. They surround themselves with other people, and this is, if you like, the Second Circle. Yeah, that's right. Just like that diagram you got there, and it's like the layers of an onion. This second group, most of them have no idea that there's another group. They think they're the ones in charge. And a lot of them are members of these secret societies like the Illuminati, the Skull and the Bones, and some other lot, and Latin name, Ordo Templo Orientali or something like that. And the Freemasons. And then outside there, you've got a third circle. And this third circle knows that they're not in charge, but they think the people in the second circle are in charge. And then outside there you've got a fourth circle, and these are the people who actually do things. the people who actually gather information, the people who actually carry out plans. And there's one thing missing from your diagram there, and that is what they call the proctors, which is security. And these people, they look to see what information's being leaked or anything else like that, and they do something about it. And this might be kidnapping people, it might be rearranging the way they think. Yes, they can do that. It might even be murder. You understand? Who knows? Who knows? I've heard things talked about. Let's put it that way. Now, these proctors, they're just controlled by the inner group, but they affect every other group. And they're very hard men, very, very hard men. I've had a run-in with them myself, and I don't want one again. And that's why I don't really want my name or my picture shown. And I don't think you can blame me for that.
So exactly how did you come to be employed by this person you can't talk about? And exactly what did you do for him?
Well, I'm going to have to be careful here because I cannot give you too much of an answer here because of identification reasons. Let's put it this way. I was working for a small company, security company, and one of their clients was this gentleman, and we used to look after all sorts of people, celebrities, politicians, you name it. And this particular gentleman, we got talking, and he felt that my experience, my areas of expertise would be of use to him and the organisation that he represented. And by the way, if they refer to themselves, they don't call themselves the Illuminati or any such name. They simply call themselves the Order. And it's the Order this or the Order that. But it's rare that they even refer to themselves like that. He recruited me personally himself. What I did for them, I was security, I was in the proctors, but I was kind of attached to this one person because he's one of the inner core, so to speak. When I left, I had to make the decision to leave in rather a hurry and leave because I knew they'd want to do something about it. Could be they might want to take me out, or maybe they want to edit what was in my head, which I wasn't very comfortable about either, and they can do that. I know people who used to work for them, they can't remember a thing. They can't remember anything. I try and talk to them about it, and some of the things that we have, shared experiences that we have, it's just gone from their heads. They can't remember it. Some of the things we did, sure enough, they weren't very legal. But messing with someone's mind, now that's quite scary indeed.
So these are legal things that you did on behalf of this organisation. What would they include? I mean, was that anything up to murder, or are you talking imprisonment or interrogation, or exactly what?
I'm not going to go into too much detail, but essentially, every now and again, somebody needs to be dealt with. Either they're spreading too much information, or this is very difficult for me to give examples without identifying myself, or it could be that they're doing something that will bring attention to the order. So what we had to do was to take them off the street, and then everything is compartmentalized, you will understand. We did not necessarily know what happened to that person then. Sometimes it would be this memory modification thing, and we knew that if we had to deliver them to, say, an airfield, because there's 3 clinics, one in South America, one in Japan, and one that they'd use for all these sorts of procedures. And we knew if we had to deliver someone to an airfield, chances are it was memory modification. But who knows what happened to some of the people that we had to deliver.
Now, Royce, when you say that you had to take them off the street, didn't anyone notice you doing this? Didn't they struggle or anything?
That's an interesting question, because we had lots of different ways of removing people from their environment which were very unobtrusive and made sure that the person cooperated. Let me give you an example, and this is something that was used a lot, certainly in my time. Whether it still is or not, I don't know. We would break into the person's house when nobody was in. We'd take pictures of the interior of the property. We would follow family members when they were out and about, and we'd take several pictures of each family member. This would then be sent to another part of the organisation, and in return we would get a picture, and this picture would show the family members sitting in their house with a gunman behind them, a gun pointed at their heads. We might have 2 or 3 different pictures like this. And the family's faces would be edited somehow to show them looking shocked and horrified, maybe even in tears. And what we'd do, we'd walk up to whoever it was the target, we'd show them the picture and say, "We have your family, I think you better come with us." 99 times out of 100, no further argument, they'd come. And the other, well, we'd show them a weapon of some sort, is one way. The other, we had these little injection devices, now difficult to explain to you what they look like. You know, you get those little tubs of Vaseline for your lips, they look a bit like that. And these had the compressed gas inside them, there was no needle, and you'd simply slap them against the person. You could do it on the back or on their arm or on their leg. And it worked fine through clothes. Whatever was in it, it would make them, wouldn't completely knock them out, but it would make them very docile and compliant, and they'd just come with you. No problems.
Oh, hi, Arduinotronic. For gold news, finances, opinions, art, and just loads of interesting crap. All right?